I'm getting more consistent with coming on live, but I'm not doing it at the time that is the time that I want to try and put on the schedule. This just kind of seems to be finding myself a little bit after that time frame, but yeah, we're still here and we're gonna got a topic to talk about tonight. So give folks a little chance to come in. If anybody wants to come on and join us, when you do come in, give us a thumbs up and let me know where you are coming from. Shout out your city. Shout out your state. All right. So before we go any further, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping here. Introduce myself. My name is Teresa T.L. Matthew. I am the founder of SAIR Nutritional Therapy. That stands for Sugar Addiction is Real. That's SAIRNT.com. And I'm offering you an opportunity to get a free nutritional assessment or a fat loss assessment. You can go over there to the website, SAIRNT.com, click on About, scroll down, and you'll see the links to the assessments there. All right. I'm also the founder and CEO of Some Foods, the maker of Some Sweet. If you just joined us, you will see that that was what was displayed there on the screen when we came on live. That is the most spectacular sweetener there is on the market. It is a sweetener that helped me to overcome my sugar addiction, to beat my sugar addiction, and to now be living sugar-free for 2+ years now. I am very, very satisfied with that sweetener product. In fact, I have no sugar cravings or anything like that. I can walk down the candy aisle and I can resist the sweeteners. The sweet stuff, the candy. Turtles were my favorite at every checkout, and I would always have to grab me one little, packet. And if the cravings were really bad, I'd have to go back and get the box with the minis in it and then sit there and down the whole box. Yeah. But I haven't had a turtle in I don't know how long. I don't even have a craving for them. And if I do want a turtle, if I do have a craving for a turtle, you know what I do? I take my Sun Sweet and I mix that with a little cream or something to make a caramel. My daughter makes the best caramels or caramel sauce with Some Sweet, but she makes a caramel sauce and sort of make our own pralines. I'll put me some pecans in there. Then we take our chocolate, which we sweeten with Some Sweet, and then we pour that over there. And this is our own homemade little candies if we have a so desire. Oh my gosh, she made me the best kind of Reese's with this, So it was with some peanut butter and some brown Some Sweet. I think she put brown Some Sweet in there. I'm not sure what else she put in there, but it was delicious. Now, I can't get her to make that for me all the time. And matter of fact, when she makes it, she's making it because she wants it. And so then I just always go sneak me a little bit off of there because, it tastes good. It's sugar free, right? And it's made with Some Sweet and it doesn't spike my blood sugars or anything like that. And it's a great tasting little treat. Don't have it all the time, but occasionally we all want a little something sweet. Occasionally. Occasionally is better than a diet of something sweet and living for something sweet. Okay? So just want to say that. As we've been talking about all the effects that sugar can have on our body. So we're gonna stay clear of sugar. But again, you know, um, let me know if you're just tuning in. Shout out your city. Give us a thumbs up. Let me know where you're coming to us from. We're going to talk today about resistant starch and what is it? What is resistant starch? So yesterday when I was talking, I said we were looking over the infographic, and on there it mentioned potatoes, and we were talking about the glycemic index. And on that glycemic index, it And if you see me looking off to the left because, or looking off and not looking at you in the camera, that's because I'm looking at my notes. And I can see here, this is like giving me a signal that uh, my internet connection is weak. So, all right, it looks like we came back kind of strong there. So, all right, so on the glycemic index and the glycemic load chart, so we saw that that potatoes were very high on that, and I was like, ooh, that kind of scares me because I got potatoes cooked up in my refrigerator already, ready to go. What I forgot to mention was just looking at that scared me. However, I knew that my potatoes and what I was doing, those were with resistant starch. Those weren't freshly cooked potatoes. Those were already potatoes that were left over, and so the starch in them has become resistant, and we're going to talk about that. Also, there's a calculation for how you calculate your food's glycemic load with the glycemic index. And there were a couple questions that came about the glycemic load and the glycemic index. And so I just want to go over that and address that really quickly. I mean, that probably could have been its own broadcast, but since how I'm live, we can just go ahead and talk about that. And then we'll jump on into the subject at hand. So, so the glycemic index ranges from 0 to 100, where 100 is pure glucose, and that's what I told us yesterday. So the glycemic load, value is low glycemic load is 10 or less, medium glycemic load is 11 to 19, and high glycemic load is 20 or higher. And the glycemic index is low glycemic index, or GI, is 55 or less. Medium GI is 56 to 69, and high is 70 or higher. Okay, and so what that is doing is just letting you know. And remember, I said yesterday that the glycemic index is going to tell you how fast your food is going to turn to sugar in your blood. The glycemic load is going to tell you how much impact that it's going to have. And this is looking really foggy here. I'm looking not clear. And I don't know why. I don't want to go and shut this down and then come back, but it's really looking not so clear. And I don't want to do a whole video with it looking like that, because I know it's not going to reboot itself. Let me go ahead. I'm going to take a quick break and see if this can fix itself, and I'll be right back. Oh, hey you guys, I'm sorry. I was muted that whole time. I turned that off for uh I told y'all we live. Yeah, but you're on the phone, but not over the video, so they didn't hear me. So we go back over what resistant starch is. So let's see, the camera is messing up here. Today the camera is messing up. There we go. It's back clear. Okay. I don't know what's going on with the camera today. With the feed today, that's what it is. Acting like that. Okay, so I don't know what all this that you guys heard, but we're going to go back over resistant starch. So resistant starch is a type of nutrient found in many healthy foods. It can help your body with digestion, weight loss, disease prevention, and other important functions. So resistant starch is a type of carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are nutrients that give your body energy in the form of glucose, a sugar molecule. And that's what we've been talking about the last couple of days, is about the glycemic index and how foods turn into sugar. So carbohydrates in foods usually fall into the categories of sugars, starches, and fibers. Many foods, both healthy and unhealthy, are high in carbohydrates. And those type of foods would be like bread, pasta, oats, fruit, rice, beans, pastry, and candies. Um, Starches are a subtype of carbohydrate. Many foods with starches have higher nutritional value and are usually better for you than sugary foods. Resistant starches are a subtype of starches, and unlike other types of carbohydrates, your digestive system itself can't break down resistant starches into energy. Instead, healthy gut bacteria in your intestines feed on them, and this can have many advantages for your weight and digestive health. Remember, I've told us before um, that you want to feed the good bacteria in your intestines. So you want to make sure that you keep your gut health is very important, as it contributes to weight loss as well. So what foods have resistant starch? Carbohydrates can be simple or complex. Simple carbohydrates have a simple chemical structure. Your body doesn't need much energy to break them down into glucose. Simple carbohydrates are usually in unhealthier foods like candy, white bread, and white rice. Resistant starches are a type of complex carbohydrate, and complex carbohydrates have a complicated chemical structure that the body needs more energy to digest. And remember, that's why those foods are usually where they come in on the glycemic load and glycemic index, because they're more difficult to break down. They don't just go straight to sugar. So, and they will tend to be lower on the glycemic index. They are generally healthier for you and more nutritious, and these nutrients are in foods like brown rice, beans, whole grain bread and pasta, quinoa, cashews, lentils, plantains or green bananas. And that's green bananas, not ripe bananas, but green bananas, or and not overly ripe plantains either. And oats. The health benefits of resistant starch. Resistant starches, they have many health benefits overall. Diabetes management and prevention. Let me see here. Give me a second here. So let's see. Resistant starches have many benefits for your digestive health overall. So in diabetes management and prevention, um, when you have diabetes, your body has trouble digesting the carbohydrates you eat, and this can cause dangerously low blood sugar like hypoglycemia, or high blood sugar attacks like hyperglycemia. But Over time, diabetes can lead to heart disease, kidney disease, stroke, um, and more serious health problems. But simple carbohydrates quickly raise your blood sugar, which can be harmful to people with diabetes. And so, and since that's why it's better to eat the complex carbohydrate foods with resistant starches because they take a long time to digest and they keep your blood sugar levels steady. So, as you can hear, the little boy, he's outside and he wants to come in. Oh, well, that we call our little our our little dog. He's not a boy. He would be like, well, I don't want to say a man. He's full grown, but he's little. So anyway, so also resistant starches help with cancer prevention. Eating a diet high in resistant starches can protect against different types of cancer. That would include breast, colon, um, and cancer of other organs in the digestive system. And what about weight management? You gain weight when you eat more energy than you burn, right? But eating resistant starches can help you feel full for longer. And this can help you from eating too much. And resistant starches have a positive effect on blood sugar stability and can also prevent weight gain. And resistant starches also can help you with your bowel movements because they can help loosen stool and ease constipation. Reduced constipation can help avoid issues like hemorrhoids, and resistant starches can also prevent diarrhea. So, are there any limits to resistant starch for your health? Well, the benefits vary. No single resistant starch diet will address all health issues equally. Some people will get more powerful benefits from resistant starches than others, and resistant starches should be one part of your larger health plan. Can they cause discomfort? Well, let's see. I think they can. It can. I haven't had any problems, but foods like beans can cause gas, bloating, and other pains during digestion. So we always, when we were kids, they had that little saying, beans, good for your heart. The more you eat, the more so that's the gas and bloating and stuff. Um, this can make people hesitant to eat them, even though they're high in resistant starch and other nutrients. If the discomfort becomes too much to handle, you may need to lower the amount of fiber and resistant starch in your diet. So if you really have a problem with those issues like gas, bloating, and other types of pain, you might want to lower the resistant starch, or if you've never really been a person to consume like something called resistant starches, you want to start slow. Always, whenever you introduce something new into your diet, you want to start slow. You don't want to eat the max of food. You just want to eat a small serving of that food and see how it does your body. Cooked versus cooled. Now we're going to get into really talking about a little bit about the resistant starches and what they are. So some types of foods are higher in resistant starch. They cool versus after they are freshly cooked. And this is why I was saying that I have potatoes in my refrigerator and I've already pre-cooked them. So I pre-boiled them and they're in my refrigerator and I just, eat them usually when I cook them, I try and consume them that same week, but maybe over a week and a half to 2 weeks when it take me that long to eat them. But so, so again, some types of foods are higher in resistant starch when when they cool versus when they are freshly cooked. Their chemical structure changes as they cool to produce more resistant starch. So rice is a is good with resistant starch. Potatoes has resistant starch. Pasta can have higher resistant starch levels, and this is after you've cooked them and cooled them. that you would get the benefits of the resistant starch. Not freshly, but you have to cook them and cool them. That's why you could eat something like a rice pudding because it would be cold. Potato salad is good to eat. Pasta salad is good to eat. These are like things that would be cold because you will cook those foods and then cool them, and then you can eat them in a cold state. You can also reheat them, and it doesn't really affect the resistant starch in them after you reheat them because it's already set, right? So once that bond is set, it doesn't break again. So you could reheat that food as well. So how do you use resistant starches to improve your health? You can include resistant starches in your daily diet to improve your health. Whole grains should make up about 1/4 of each meal you eat, and foods high in resistant starch can fit into the whole grain category. You can also eat non-whole grains like legumes, and try to eat 2 to 3 cups of legumes per week. Meals and side dish ideas using resistant starch. And I think I did mention a couple, but lentil or pea soup, oats soaked overnight, if you like that, overnight oats, um, cooled brown rice, whole grain cereal, quinoa and bean on a salad, quinoa and beans on a salad, chickpea curry, baked beans. Those are some examples of foods that are, with resistant starch. And again, like I said, pasta salad, potato salad, um, when I say with the rice pudding, right, would have resistant starch in it. To avoid the digestive discomfort like gas and constipation and bloating, make sure you drink a lot of water. Water helps your body digest complex carbs and softens your stool. And exercise can also kickstart your digestive system and promote passing stool. I remember when I used to walk, whenever I would walk, I would immediately when I start walking, I had to use the bathroom. So that could be for somebody, if you're struggling, that, that might be a little tidbit for you. But so what do you think about the resistant starches? Again, resistant starches are starches that your body cannot break down to use for energy, which means it's not going to break it down, which means there's no need for the insulin, right? For the insulin, the spike to come and take the glucose and usher it into your cells, which your cells don't want it, and then take it to the fat cells. So you can see why resistant starches would be beneficial to us because your body can't break it down to use for energy. It's not going to even try. It's just going to pass through to your intestines. So, it passes to your digestive system either partially or entirely. And resistant starch is different than fiber. It's different from fiber, but it acts in a very similar way. Okay. So again, and so do we know what a starch is? A starch is a type of carbohydrate that comprises of a long chain of sugar molecules. And again, the body usually breaks down those starches and uses that sugar for energy. Now, I didn't mention corn in here because corn is a food that does have starch in it, but I didn't mention corn in here. They do, you can get a resistant starch from corn as well. I'm not really sure about the corn. I know that I've seen like cornstarch that is resistant starch, resistant cornstarch. I'm not sure what the name of it is called. It's not just called resistant, but I have seen a cornstarch that is a resistant starch. But so but again, and there are various types of resistant starch. So resistant starch is an umbrella term that includes like um 4 to 5 different types of starches. So we're going to just go over those briefly about what those types of starches are. So the different types of resistant starch vary in either their physical structure or the reasons why they are resistant to digestion. And that's what it means. Resistant means that they're resistant to digestion. Okay. Um, Many foods will contain more than one type of resistant starch, depending on how a person cooks them or when they choose to eat them. So remember, I was saying eating some of those foods cold rather than hot. And definitely, there's no benefit after they're immediately after they're cooked. So you do have to cool them. Okay, so the first one is type 1. Type 1 resistant starch remains stuck in the fibrous cell walls of the food that the person eats. The person cannot physically digest the fiber or the starch itself. So type 1 resistant starch is abundant in legumes, seeds, and many grains. And then there's the type 2 resistant starch, and it's more common in some raw foods and has a specific structure that makes it difficult for people to digest. For instance, a slight unripe banana would be higher in type 2 resistant starch than a fully ripe banana. So that's what I was saying earlier. I think I mentioned about an unripe banana and unripe plantains. They would be filled with type 2 resistant starch in their raw state. And there's type 3 resistant starch, and it is a highly resistant starch that forms during the process of heating, then cooling starchy foods. And like I mentioned to us before, rice and potatoes. So those will give you that type 3 resistant starch, and it's very highly resistant. So you just cook your rice or your potatoes, and you allow them to cool after cooking, and they will turn some of the starches into highly resistant starch. Then there's type 4 resistant starch, and these are processed and modified forms of starch. These resistant starches are entirely artificial. So that's the type 4. Then type 5 resistant starch is starch that has bonded with a type of fat, changing its structure and making it more resistant to digestion. All right, so I want to ask you guys, I'm scrolling down here to get some more information for you. Just give me a thumbs up if you're liking this information. If you're liking this kind of content, go ahead, comment. Let me know where you're coming from. Just give me a little shout out here. Let's see what's all going on here. Let me close this up here. All right. I'm going to go on. I'm going to keep on going. Oops, I didn't check my time. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're almost done here. So again, we talked about the benefits of the resistant starch, that it passes, that it's not digest. What it does is it resists digestion. It acts very similar to fiber, and it passes through to the small intestine without being digested, and feeds your good bacteria in your small intestine and your colon. So it improves your digestive and your colon health. And again, hey, this might be interesting for you. But anyway, so it improves that. So when resistant starches arrive in the colon, they feed the healthy bacteria, which turn these starches into a few different short chain fatty acids. And these fatty acids include butyrate, which is an important component for cells of the colon. And butyrate reduces the levels of inflammation in the colon. In doing this, it can help protect against issues related to the digestive system, such as ulcerative colitis and inflammatory colorectal cancer. So in theory, butyrate may also help with other inflammatory issues in the bowel, such as constipation, diarrhea, Crohn's disease, and diverticulitis. So, and while these potential benefits are promising, most of the research to date has involved animals rather than humans. We don't like to do studies on ourselves. Really, we really shouldn't do studies on ourselves. But anyway, high quality human studies are necessary to help support some of these claims. And what can it do for your insulin levels? Well, eating resistant starch may help to improve insulin sensitivity in some people. Remember, we're all different, so what works for me may not work for you. You just got to know your body and see and try it to see what works for you. But yeah, it can help improve insulin sensitivity in some people. This possible benefit is very important because lower insulin sensitivity may play a role in several disorders, including obesity, diabetes, and even heart disease. So we want to be insulin sensitive rather than insulin resistant, because that just means that your body knows what to do with the insulin. Actually, your cells are open to receiving the insulin for energy and storing it as energy, rather than resisting it, saying no, we don't want that, we don't need that, and then your fat cells take it going into your fat cells, right? So here's a study that found that men with overweight or obesity who ate 15 to 30 grams of resistant starch each day had increased insulin sensitivity compared with men who did not eat these starches. However, the female participants did not experience these effects. So they're asking to do another study to research and determine what the reasons why there was a difference, but men did benefit from that. So, and it helps you to feel full. I think we mentioned that earlier. That was done. There was a study that was done and found that 30 grams of resistant starch a day for 6 weeks helped decrease hormones that cause hunger in healthy people with overweight people. So in healthy overweight people, eating more resistant starch also increased compounds that help a person feel less hungry in the morning. So you might want to observe that for yourself. How do you feel in the morning after you've had a meal of resistant starch? I can tell you that I don't feel hungry, but then I normally don't have a really huge appetite. But some days I can eat some foods, and then the next day I wake up, I get hungry earlier. But I noticed the other day I had made some potatoes and I ate those potatoes, and I kind of ate those potatoes, kind of late, but I went nearly the whole day without eating again because I was like completely satisfied. And I was like, I thought that was interesting that I had ate those potatoes and I expected to wake up the next day and be really hungry, but it was quite the opposite. So including resistant starch in the diet, therefore, can aid in weight loss efforts by increasing the amount of time for which a person feels satisfied after a meal. And this increased satiety could prevent unnecessary snacking and excess calorie intake. And so what about resistant starch and fiber? And although fiber and resistant starch differ in their molecule structure, the effects that they have on the body are very similar. So both resistant starch and fiber are types of carbohydrate that the body cannot break down. So in the large intestine, resistant starch acts the same as fiber. So now we have it in the large intestine. It feeds healthy bacteria and promotes the fermentation that creates the healthful byproducts such as butyrate again. And also, like fiber, it's going to bulk your stools and it's going to help you with your bowel movements. So foods high in resistant starch, some foods, those would include toasted Italian bread, pumpernickel bread, cornflakes, puffed wheat cereals. I can't find puffed wheat in the store. I looked for them and I couldn't find them. Oats, muesli, potato chips. Potato chips, you guys. Potato chips, high in resistant starch, raw bananas, white beans, and lentils. Additionally, cooking and then cooling some starchy foods, such as white potatoes and rice, may increase their levels of resistant starch. So, are there any side effects to this resistant starch? I think we mentioned that. I'm going to go over it again. You might get some gas, okay? You might get some gas and some bloating and things like that. Might be, the mild side effects that you'll get. So basically, Resistant starch. It's important. It's an important part of a healthy digestive system, and it may offer several protective effects. Still need a lot of research.
Did you say banana is a resistant starch?
Unripe bananas. Green bananas. You said you don't want to eat green bananas? So, the research surrounding resistant starch is still in its early stages, but eating about 15 to 30 grams of resistant starch each day may help protect your body against inflammation in the digestive system, and it also helps keep a person satisfied after meals and increase insulin sensitivity. So just remember to cook your high starch foods like pasta, rice, potatoes, and allow them to cool before eating them. And that's the simplest way to get that resistant starch into your diet. All right. So that's it about resistant starch. I think I'm going to have me a potato because I feel a little bit better. Oh, I knew that. But yeah, so you can see how some foods get a bad rep because, there's some things that we don't know and don't understand about it. Because I know in the nutrition world, we really speak against like having a chip, potato chips and things like that. Because, but again, it depends on how that potato chip is cooked because there's various ways to cook that potato chip in the oil and all of that kind of stuff. But you don't have to have a fried potato chip. You can have a baked potato chip, and you can actually bake your own potato chips. Well, I don't know how, because usually when potatoes, they kind of get hard a little bit, but you can do your own potato chips or something like that. But as you can see that they're a resistant starch. So, there's that. And you have to be responsible and watch your blood sugar, see how foods spike and see what happens because again, everybody is an individual and things are different. We everybody's different, and what I can do you might not be able to do, right? So you just have to monitor and just let those foods, every time you eat something, check your blood sugars. If you are pre-diabetic or diabetic, you want to check your blood sugars and monitor them. If you have not reached that point where you have to monitor your blood sugars, you just see how your body feels after you eat a certain food, if there's any type of reaction that you get. Okay? But that's it. What do you think about resistant starch? I mean, it could be something that you might be missing out of your diet and that you can add, or it gives you another way to bring those high glycemic foods into your diet. Again, you're going to monitor, but those foods that are high on the glycemic index and high on the glycemic load, you bring them into your diet as a cold food rather than eating them when they're freshly cooked, and you eat them cold and see how you do, how they do your blood sugar. That's the only thing that you can do, is to monitor and check and see how they do your blood sugar. But again, that gives you an opportunity to eat foods that maybe you thought you couldn't eat, but you just have to eat them in a different way. Okay. So, Mom, did you have any other comments, any final words to add here?
No, I'm good.
You're good? All right. So I just want to let us know that if you want to get a nutritional assessment or fat loss assessment, you can head on over to SAIRNT.com. That is SAIRNutritionalTherapy.com. Click on About, and you would be able to get that nutritional assessment. Also, if you're liking this content, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. All right. And again, if you want to get a hold of the best sweetener in the marketplace, and I say that is the most spectacular sweetener on the market, you can get Some Sweet. You can head on over to sumsweet.com. That's SUMSWEET.com, and get that sweetener for yourself. Again, that's SWMSWEET.com, and get Some Sweet for yourself. It is the most spectacular sweetener on the market. So I just want to thank you for tuning in today. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off now and we'll see what I'll be back. Let me see, Sunday, probably Sunday. I'll go live again on Sunday. But if you're watching this in the future, it's already there for you. All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. I am your host, Teresa T. L. Matthew, and peace and blessings.